Austin, what does it mean to jettison?
And when you say this, right, you're saying jettison, right? Not the Jetsons, like most people would think jettison. So when we're thinking about the word jettison, we can start with the actual definition. If you look it up, the actual definition of jettison is to throw or drop something from an aircraft or ship. Now, why is that important? Because my definition is more along the lines of what we're going to talk about in this podcast. So, letting go of the non-essential BS that you don't need to progress upward and onward in life. Letting go of the dead weight. Letting go of things that you no longer need to sustain, maintain, or progress. This is my definition of jettison, and this is what we are going to talk about here today on today's podcast. Now, to give a little context here, when we're talking about the word jettison, hearkening back to its original definition here, when you're thinking of a ship, you're thinking of a rocket ship, right? A lot of us have seen Elon Musk's rocket ships, go into space or try to go into space. And if you noticed, if you've ever watched a rocket launch, at the beginning of the rocket launch, the rocket is one just huge mass of engineering. It has these big, long boosters that take it from 0 miles per hour or kilometers, however you want to measure them, to high speeds. But it's difficult for boosters to take something of that weight from 0 to flight. So at the beginning, it has need for those big, huge boosters to take them from 0 to flight. Now, once it reaches a certain point in the atmosphere, or it gets out of Earth's atmosphere, the rocket does something interesting. It drops those big rocket boosters that you saw at the beginning of the flight. Lets them go, just drops them. And then as the rocket boosters are falling down, the rocket continues into space. Smaller construction now, without those huge rocket boosters, but it has all the right things it needs to fly in space. It no longer needs those big rocket boosters because it's not fighting the gravity that it was fighting or that it will fight in space. So it no longer needs them. So along that journey, it helps you realize this one particular thing. And what is that one particular thing, Jose? What gets you from 0 to 1 is not the same tools that'll get you from 1 to 100. So from 0 to however much it is, miles per hour, kilometers per hour, it takes you to take off and get into flight, it's not going to be the same tools that it's going to take you to get to 1 to 100, or to get you from out of Earth's atmosphere all the way through space to get to wherever you're trying to go, the moon, Mars, what have you. So we've talked a little bit about jettison, the definition, but you have something here about timing. What is so important about timing when it comes to jettison or jettisoning things from your life?
Right. So I think timing is arguably the most important factor when it comes to jettisoning anything, whether that be in the case of a rocket or anything within your life. Now, a lot of people might think, doesn't seem too important. As long as you jettison, you should be fine, right? Well, rocket science is quite literally rocket science, and it requires a degree of precision to the nth degree.
Very true.
And therefore, jettisoning does not happen halfway up the ascent of the rocket. It happens after the rocket is outside of Earth's gravitational pull. If the rocket jettisons too early, it's no longer going to escape Earth's gravitational pull. If it jettisons too late, the amount of forward momentum and force unabated by Earth's gravity will likely send the rocket off of trajectory, meaning that the jettison itself has to occur at the most opportune moment. So if we apply that into your life, if you drop something before it's opportune, you can miss out on opportunities that were coming your way. Or by the same token, you can jump the gun on the decision. And as they say, haste makes waste. And therefore, your hasty decisions lead to your own demise. Now, that leads me to a quote that I heard today, actually. And I forgot where it came from, but it's what's next that matters most, not what is currently going on. And the reason why I chose to discuss this quote is that you need to let go of the attachment of the present and focus on your next action, mainly because essentially what's happening right now, you have no control over. You only have control over how you respond and how you adapt. And therefore, a lot of times we like to hold on to the pleasant or the unpleasant current moment and focus on that. But I say, if you jettison that attachment and you focus on the future, you're always setting yourself up for success, because even if the present is painful or pleasurable, everything in life comes and goes. And therefore, you need to prepare yourself for what's next. So that next chapter or that next move or the next move in the chess game, it could be something very simple like, do I get sleep so that I enjoy tomorrow, or do I continue celebrating tonight and then suffer tomorrow in the morning? Small little decisions like that. But how do you know when to jettison, Austin?
So I think for most people, that's going to be one of the more challenging things that they have to think through when it comes to the act of jettisoning. So I would like to say this goes for basically everything. And you may think that this has a negative connotation, but bear with me here. I think that whenever something starts to not serve you or your purpose for life or your purpose for it, it's time to jettison. So, you're talking about sleep. Of course, we all need to sleep. Not saying you get zero sleep for the rest of your life. That's not going to be a long, fruitful life if you do that. But if you jettison some sleep because you realize that, okay, me sleeping 10 hours a day or 10 hours at night is not gaining me the results that I want. I could utilize some extra time to be more productive. It's time to jettison, because you're not seeing results or the results that you could see by maintaining or holding on to that sleep. We can talk about people when it comes to people around you. So they might be somebody that you are just super, super close with. But after they no longer serve that purpose in your life that you felt like they were serving, it might be time to jettison that person from your life, because that thing that they were serving, that hole that they were serving in your life for you, they're no longer serving. So to continue having them there would be like carrying dead weight or excessive baggage, because they're not fulfilling what they're there to fulfill. So at that point in time to jettison. So again, whenever you have something that you're holding on to, that you feel like you've held on to for an extended period of time, and it's not serving you. And when I say serving you, I'm not saying that in a conceited way, but when you think about it, when these things aren't serving you, aren't benefiting you, just like how if you're not benefiting somebody, you're dragging them down, I would expect them to do the same to you. It's life. So if something is not benefiting you or serving you, and you're trying to get to a certain place in life, or you're trying to do certain things, it might be time for you to jettison that thing or that person.
And it's not personal.
It's never personal.
That's one of the things you have to actually jettison from as well. The emotional aspect of jettisoning.
Right.
Jettisonception. Because you have to apply jettisoning to the action of jettisoning from somebody.
Right.
You have to separate yourself from the emotions and say, hey, this is not serving me, and therefore it's not serving them. Or by the same token, you could just simply say it's not serving them, therefore it's also not serving me.
Exactly.
But we're human and we get emotionally attached and we don't want to hurt people's feelings. So sometimes it can be difficult to jettison. What do you suggest in that scenario?
You know what? I have an example here, because this is something that we've been through and experienced, the both of us actually.
Really?
Yeah.
Me too.
More than what you think. So first off, just like you said, detaching emotion from jettisoning is it's crucial, because as we've gone through this process, I would say that we've jettisoned a lot. Because when I'm saying this, it's not only people, it's things. Because there might have been things that we like to partake in, or we thought we liked to partake in, that we're no longer partaking in right now. We're not going to go play soccer at Zoka right now. Not saying that we hate to do it, but we haven't done it in a while. I haven't played my PS5. I haven't turned it on since August. Not to say I don't like to do it, but it was just time to do it. With certain people in my life, it's not that I had anything against them as a person. It was just that it was time for me to jettison them, because it got to a point to where if I really wanted to do the things that I wanted to do, they weren't going to be able to come with me for that journey. Just like the rocket boosters, the big, huge rocket boosters, they would be holding me down past a certain point. Mm-hmm. Past a certain point, it's just excess weight. Just drop that. You don't need all of that. So I've seen that a lot with things. I've seen it a lot with family sometimes, but I've also seen it with friends specifically. And I would say that I wasn't the most friendly person, but I was lucky enough to have a good amount of friends by the time I graduated college. Friends, right? And when you look up today, or when I look up today, the only person that I talk to on a day in and day out basis that is in the same area as me, that I consider a friend, a brother, what have you, is Jose. I was talking to a multitude of other people, but as I have gotten older and as my goals have started to change, as my ideas and ideals have started to change, it's also changed who I surrounded myself by. Because at a certain point, a large group of those people, a large group of those friends became the big, large rocket boosters. Not saying that there was anything wrong with them as a person, not saying I dislike them. If I see them, if it's the right time, we're going to kick it. But right now, we're out of space. We're out of Earth's atmosphere. We're in space right now. I don't have time to be lugging around those big boosters. I don't. So in order to do what we set out to do, in order to get to the moon, to Mars, to whatever, it may just take the small boosters. It may just take that one person, two people that you really trust, that you're aligned with in order to get to where you want to go. So when it comes to friends, a lot of you might be experiencing this where you might want to do something, but your friends, they don't understand. They want to sit on the couch and just chill and eat, or go hang out at bars, or go do what have you. But when it comes to fulfilling your dreams, are you willing to say, I'm okay, I'll keep them here and I'll sacrifice my dreams just so I can stay comfortable and keep my friends? Or are you going to say, I'm willing to have less friends in order to be more mobile, more agile, more streamlined, so I can do what I need to do to get to where I want to go? So when I was saying more mobile, more agile, more streamlined, this all helps with maneuverability. So Jose, can you touch on the maneuverability aspect of jettisoning?
Yes. So when you were talking about the group becoming smaller, in a sense, that made me think of how in warfare you want to be the most maneuverable that you can be, because that'll make you a difficult opponent to trap, to catch up with, or to even identify. And the way you become maneuverable is you drop the dead weight. You make the group small. You make the group light and agile, adaptive and efficient. And preferably, you can actually segment the group, like Napoleon's Corps d'Armes, where he had small, essentially mini militias, and it was copy-paste. So rather than having one large militia, he had 8 small militias that all operated under the same tactic. And therefore they could collaborate. They could corroborate and make incredible strategic moves without even communicating, because they already understood how to attack and how to behave. And that was the benefit they had, was their maneuverability. Because as an opponent, they didn't know how many armies or how many troops Napoleon had, because they were getting attacked from all different sides. And when they turn, the group is so maneuverable, they can't see it. They can't identify. Is it 1? Is it 3? Is it 5? Is it 10? I have no clue. All I know is that we can't keep up with them, and they're tearing us to shreds.
Now, to that point, I would say this is an aspect about us and our business that makes us strong. Because you would think 2 people when it comes to a business is too little. However, especially when starting off, it helps us be more maneuverable. Because say we had 10 people on our team, right? 10 of our friends, not 10 of our friends, but 8 of our friends. And every little decision we had to run by everyone. The whole group had to have a majority vote on whatever it is that we're doing. That takes too long. There's too many differing opinions to consult to make a move.
Egos collide.
Not everybody may be on the same financial spectrum. Not everyone may have the same ideals and morals when it comes to certain things. All these varying aspects, it causes too much room for stagnation.
Unnecessary friction.
Exactly. So when you're thinking about, say, us 2 versus a group of 10 friends that wants to start a business, I'd say that Jose and I would be able to get more done than those 10, not because we're just so much smarter than them. No, it's because they're so disorganized and have so many boxes to check when it comes to going through and making decisions that it makes them less maneuverable. And for them, they'll probably get to a point to where it's time to jettison. They may have to remove some people because having those many heads to try to figure out what the fuck you're going to do is taking too long. Whereas for us, we've already done that process. We've already removed the excess fat from the process in the business of what we're trying to do. And that has helped us be able to maneuver incredibly fast when it comes to starting businesses, when it comes to maintaining and operating the business, and when it comes to optimizing the business. Us being us too and more maneuverable, it happens like that as opposed to a long, drawn out process. So you have something here, Jose, about a group. Would you like to go into detail?
Yes, I would. So this is piggybacking off of what you were saying. And the fact that you have, and I want to ask you a follow-up question after this point. Mm-hmm. So don't let me forget about ego and Ryan Holiday's book.
Right.
So imagine that you have a group, a large group, like Austin said, of 10 individuals who aren't necessarily aligned with their morals, with their beliefs, and with their processes. And this could be motivated by a whole plethora of reasons, but we just won't dive into it right now. However, a larger group generally requires a more complex process. It's a machine that moves slower. Think of a big army marching versus a small corps. There's a big difference in maneuverability. So they're a lot slower, and that's just to be expected. However, if you find yourself on the receiving end of a small corps or a army, a large militia, you would probably prefer the small corps just because just the sheer amount of quantity. Mm-hmm. Now, that slow-moving group might make 5 decisions a month, and a small-moving group may make 5 decisions a week. Now, in a year, that means that the large group only makes 60 decisions, while the small group makes 260 decisions.
Right.
Even if your batting percentage as a small group is 50%, you're still making 130 decisions that are good within a year versus 100% for the first group being 60.
Right.
You still 2x at your worst what the other group does at their best.
It's kind of like the old quote that got a lot of traction earlier, you know? It's like the cream of the crap.
Ah, yes. If you are the cream of the crop, you are still crap.
Indeed.
And if you want an explanation, go watch our short.
Yeah.
And read the comments.
Read the comments.
So the follow-up question I have for you, Austin, in this regard is a quote from Ryan Holiday's book. And actually the title of the book, Ego is the Enemy.
One of my favorites.
I know this is slightly off tangent, but I think it's very applicable to the dialogue that we're going into right now about groups and group friction. And I know that you are very good at controlling your ego, especially in times of where most people would actually flare up.
You think so?
I know so.
I appreciate that.
Yeah. You don't have to appreciate the truth.
Amen.
Appreciate yourself.
It's a great guy right here.
But I want you to expound on, I don't care to know why ego is the enemy. Mm-hmm. I want to know how you control your ego in a large group or in a small group. How do you balance it? See, we don't ask simple questions here. We make ourselves think so that we can give y'all things, because these are likely questions that you're asking yourself.
Right. And my answer to that question is going to be kind of harsh, but we kind of like giving those responses here.
Hey, it's been a while since we've gone hard in the paint.
Amen. So my response to that is, who gives a fuck how I feel about what I'm doing or where I end up? It's all about what we said it's all about. If it's about the business, who gives a fuck? Because I said this relatively early on in the process. I was like, hey, because I'm working and at this specific point in time, you had the ability to move freely.
The maneuverability.
I was like, look, when people think of this business, think of this company, think of the picture of what it looks like, they're going to think of you. And I have zero problem with that. Why? Because right now, my role is my role. Your role is your role. And we're okay with that. We set at the beginning that, look, my role is the AWAC. I'm all the way up there in the clouds. You can't even see me. This guy is down here fighting. He's going to get the awards. He's going to get the acclaim because he deserves it. I'm going to be the guy back there saying, watch your six. There's somebody coming to your left. Yeah, there's these headwinds coming over. It might give you a little problem. So as long as everyone understands their role and we're going to do that role to the best of our abilities to make the company succeed, which is what we set out to do, who cares about your ego and about what you feel like you should be doing or should get or whatever? I don't care. Most people would. They would say, oh man, I feel like I should blah, 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 or I should get this or I should get that. You shouldn't get shit unless that's what the trajectory of the business allows. Because again, it's what you set out to do whenever you first start and what you agree that your role is. If your role is to play the assistant of someone who is super successful, that is your friend, and they said, hey, look, man, come along with me. You don't have to worry about shit. Just be my assistant. They're going to get all the acclaim. You're probably not. You're going to be the assistant of the cool guy. But you being the assistant of the cool guy is going to help him tremendously. And he's going to always repay you for it. That's your role. Your ego might say, man, fuck that. I'm gonna do my own thing. I'm gonna, fuck him. I'm gonna, do my own thing and be better than him at it and blah, 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 blah. But what's in that for you, man? Like, I just think when it comes to ego in this, you have to jettison that in order to propel yourself, in order to propel your business, and in order to propel those around you. Because if you carry that with you in this environment, ego can get you killed, man. And when I say that, I mean having an ego in the situations that we encounter on a day in and day out basis can completely thwart what we're doing. It could derail what we're doing. It could stagnate what we're doing to the point to where it's something that we plan on getting done in a week because you're bickering and arguing or not doing what you're supposed to do about it doesn't get done until a month. And then that opportunity might pass. So having an ego, especially in this business, especially when you're working with someone, especially when you're working with people, is very, very dangerous. And it may not hurt you at the beginning, but at the right or wrong time, depending on how you see it, it's going to come back to bite you in the ass. And you see that with a lot of people these days.
And I would like to discuss something, but we'll save it for a future podcast about the positives and the negatives of ego, because I would like to actually combat the statement that ego is the enemy and also say it can also be your frenemy.
Actually, I could see that.
But
I could see that.
we'll save that for a future dialogue.
All right.
With that, my friends, the AM Club Podcast.
Signing out.
The AM Club Podcast.